When we were at the service, yes,
I just want you to know it's like.
No, I appreciate that. I didn't know it was.
How are you, Victor?
I just think.
Expecting something.
Quiet,
like they're expecting something.
Yeah, we're gonna. They must have heard a rattle of the mic or something.
Yes.
With the look, we can't start yet. We're a little lean. Wow.
Harry, should there be a city manager and a few other council members here?
I'd say, they said, we thought we were going to start. I said, no, I don't think we're going to start right now.
I thought I had on my calendar that car thing. You know what date it is?
Yeah. It is the
Congratulations again.
14th. Now we can
It's a
start.
nice week.
Now we can start. Hi.
Harry?
How you doing, Robbie?
Man, you doing all right?
Yep.
They got all the info on that.
Oh, okay. Yes, I got your thing this morning, and it's just been one of those days I didn't have time to reply, but I thought, well, I'll get that done and.
Didn't reply, but that's fine, yeah.
Well, she just responded back to me too.
Did have it.
Said, wanted to do it.
You initially said it, didn't have any detail either. I just wrote on here
Well, and.
all day.
No.
No, it's just
And it make a lot of sense.
4 to
Doesn't mean
5,
we
4 or
can't
5
get
somewhere there.
It's just additional complexity.
Okay.
And there are things that we have to overcome.
Okay, council, let's come to order and begin our study session, September 6th. We're past Labor Day and into early fall. Beautiful day outside. Yeah, it's still summer. Our first order of business is beautiful business property of the month. Brian, I see you. I see Becky. I see Loretta. And this month, it's a not-for-profit, the Glen House. I see Tom out there. I see others. Come on up, everybody. Come on down.
Come on now.
Oh, I don't care. This is a real pleasure for me to present because I know the Glen House is one of our city gems. It's always had a lot of tender love and care. And I guess I could say blood, sweat, and tears too through the years. And in order to, correct? Okay. Great to see crowds. Beautiful business property tonight.
I want to support them at It's Cat Beautiful and the Glen.
Both of them.
Come on down.
Hi.
Well, Marty come around the corner.
Yeah, we do have a crowd.
Yeah, we do. That's great.
Any service.
Absolutely. When we talk about that, they do all they can just to keep the boards on and the peeling done and painting done and all of the repair work and Band-Aid here and Band-Aid there, and but they do a tremendous job. You know, it's such an asset to our city. And we're so proud of the Glen House. is recognized as tours are given. And it's part of our history. Number one, thank you for what you do for the Glen House. So, in addition, they found time to make their property beautiful. And we're very, very proud of that too. And honored today to award the Glen House the Beautiful Property of the Month. And say congratulations to you, and keep up the good work. And I know you all love Cape Girardeau, and that's a part of it. So congratulations, and who's the spokesman that's going to kind of make some words out about the Glen House? Tom?
I guess I get chosen. I get to say thanks, but I don't get to take the credit because there's a lot of people,
Sure,
a few represented here from our board that spend a lot of time. The Glen House is in existence and does what it does because of the generosity of the community of Cape Girardeau over the years and still going on currently. You know, specifically speaking to the yards and the property and the gardens and the plantings that have happened, I have to give credit to Joyce Edwards and her husband Willard, who several years ago got involved. They didn't want to come to any meetings, but they donated plants and they were there almost every day, weeding and planting things, and they really were the stimulus. Unfortunately, Joyce passed away this spring. And so a new yard master has shown up. Mary Lou Bass is the one that is down there almost every day and then yelling at the rest of us why we aren't there to help. Not yelling, but
We're almost
strongly encouraging. But it kind of reflects the passion that our whole group of volunteers and our supporters and everybody that you know, takes care of the Glen House, because we love it. We love sharing our history and our heritage. It's the ability to step back in time and experience the things that people did right and that they did wrong. I mean, it's both sides, it's the whole story. And it truly is a passion, and I'm honored to represent the Glen House for all of our board members.
Okay. And I know you're been a real leader there, Tom, and I'll say thank you to you. And you'll come in the middle, and I'll make this presentation. We'll take a little photo, right?
Get the folks behind the mayor, step to the side so I can see your wonderful faces.
All right, big smiles over here, please. Thank you.
Thank you for all your work.
Done.
Brian, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, regulations for stop signs. That must be Casey.
Another traffic control device.
Yes, tonight we're only going to focus on stop signs. That one? Perfect. Okay, so good evening, Mayor, Council. Tonight we're going to give you a short and brief presentation on the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or the MUTCD. First of all, what is the MUTCD? It is this book right here. Don't fret, I'm only going over a very small portion of this book, so we don't have time to go over everything in here. So we're going to go over a few objectives. What is the legal status of this book? How we got to where we are today with this book. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation on exactly when and how you can install stop signs. So first off, what is the MUTCD? It is the book that defines the standards used nationwide to install traffic control devices on public streets. It also contains all the national design, application, placement, standards, guidance, options, and support provisions for traffic control devices. What I like to tell people, kind of the easiest way to describe this book, it is if you go to any state in our great country is why all stop signs look the way they do. Or if you go through a traffic signal at any state in our country, you're able to navigate it because of the uniformity established by this book. A little bit more additional information. It's published by the Federal Highway Administration under Title 23 of the code, or the CFR. And its purpose is to provide a uniformity of traffic control devices, which includes signs, signals, pavement markings, and it's to promote highway safety and efficiency. So again, why all stop signs look the same in every state. What is the legal status of the MUTCD? It was adopted by reference under, again, Title 23 of CFR, and is approved as the national standard for designing and planning traffic control devices. In cases involving federal aid projects, you have to follow the MUTCD before you can open or reopen a street for public use. MoDOT has adopted a state MUTCD, or the Engineering Policy Guide, EPG, as part of their code, and it references the National Book for regulatory signage. And then the city has incorporated the MUTCD into the city's standards and specifications that we just went through a major update earlier this year, but it was incorporated prior to that update as well. A little history on the MUTCD. It has been administered by the FHWA since 1971 and is updated periodically to incorporate new traffic technologies and safety measures that have come about. As you can see from the table up there, it has been named the Manual and Uniform Traffic Control Devices since 1935, just coming under FHWA jurisdiction in 1971. Our current edition is from 2009. The prior edition to that was in 2003. So I suspect that we will be seeing a new update coming out in the near future. So this is what we all really want to know. What is the guidance for installing stop signs? We're going to kind of go over 3 different sections of this book. The general guidance for stop signs, stop sign applications, and multi-way stop applications. And let's go ahead and apologize. This stuff is very mundane. It's coming straight out of the book. This is what we have to go by whenever we look at an intersection and decide if we want to install a regulatory sign there. So there just really is no way to spice this up really, but we'll try to make it as painless as possible. The general guidance for installing stop signs, MUTCD states that stop signs should be used if engineering judgment indicates that one of the more following conditions exist. So if you have an intersection of a less important road with a main road, you can install a stop sign at that location. If you have a street entering a through highway or street, you can install a stop sign there. If you have an unsignalized intersection in a signalized area, again, you can install a stop sign there. Or if you have a location that has high vehicular volume, sight distance issues, or crash accident data that indicate the need for control by a stop sign. The book specifically states that you should not install a stop sign for speed control. In addition, MUTCD states that once a decision has been made to control an intersection, that the decision regarding the appropriate signage to put there should be based on an engineering study. In most cases, the street carrying the lowest volume of traffic should be stopped. A stop sign should not be installed on a major street unless backed up by a traffic engineering study. So, for example, you'd want to control the least amount of traffic going through the intersection and let the major street with the most through traffic continue to go through the intersection as a through movement. Some additional general guidance for stop signs. There are several considerations that might influence the decision on which street to stop at an intersection. Specifically, if you have 2 streets at an intersection that have relatively the same amount of traffic on each leg. Those characteristics include stopping the direction that conflicts most with pedestrians, stopping the direction that has sight distance issues, or stopping the direction that has the best sight distance. It depends on the location. So specifically for stop sign applications, if you have an intersection where a full stop is not necessary at all times, consideration should first be given to a yield sign or a less restrictive measure. The use of a stop sign at a minor street approach should be considered if engineering judgment indicates that a stop is always required because one or more of the following. So try to stay with me here. So we have to look at this stuff every time and it gets very confusing. But if you have an intersection that has traffic volume where you have more than 6,000 vehicles per day, if you have a sight distance issue at an intersection that would require drivers to kind of ease their way through that intersection because they can't necessarily see oncoming traffic from the other direction, that's another application. If you have accident data that indicate that 3 or more crashes are susceptible to correction by the installation of a stop sign, if you have 3 or more of those crashes within a 12-month period, or 5 or more crashes within a 2-year period, you could potentially install a stop sign at that location. Such crashes that could be corrected by the installation of a stop sign include right angle collisions and failure to yield right of way. So that is for a single application. So if you have a multi-way or if you have a four-legged intersection, what we've talked about so far for just the stop sign applications, if you're going to install or if you're going to control like the minor street coming through. So next we're going to talk about the multi-way stop. But you had a question, Mr. Uzaro.
Yes. So where I live, do we default to a stop sign instead of a yield sign? Because like, for example, I now have to stop on Olivia Drive where I live, and there hadn't been a stop sign for the previous 10 years I lived there. I have to stop for one person's house. There's literally one house.
So we're going to talk
So
about
I know
that.
there's not 6,000 vehicles.
Yep, we're going to talk about that more. And that goes into what we talked about kind of the beginning. We're going to talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. If I don't answer your question at the end, please let me know, and I'll try to answer it. So specific guidance for multi-way stop applications. Again, the book provides guidance for that as well. So if you have a four-legged intersection and each leg of the intersection has relatively the same amount of traffic, this is where you look at this section of the book to try to decide if you need to install a multi-way stop. Again, this type of stop application should be based on an engineering study. Okay, so again, try to bear with me. The warrants for installing a multi-way stop application are as follows. So if you have an intersection where a traffic signal has been warranted, but it takes a little bit longer to install those, okay? So you can put a stop sign up in the meantime until that traffic signal is corrected. If you have a crash problem or accidents at a location where 5 or more crashes are reported in a 12-month period that are susceptible to correction by multi-way stop, you can install that multi-way stop at that location. In addition, so if that stuff wasn't tricky enough, here's the next part. You get into the criteria 3, which is the minimum volumes for an intersection. So if you have vehicular volume entering an intersection from the major street approach, so the total of both approaches of that major street coming into the intersection, averaging at least 300 vehicles per hour for any 8 hours of an average day, and you have combined vehicular, pedestrian, and bicycle volume entering the intersection from the minor street approach, so not the major, the minor street approach, the total of both of those minor street approaches averages at least 200 units per hour for the same 8 hours as criteria A, and you could install a multi-way stop. But if the 85th percentile approach speed of the major street traffic exceeds 40 miles per hour, the minimum vehicular volume warrants are 70% of the ones I just stated. So instead of 300 and 200, it could be 210 and 140. Traffic engineering, the 85th percentile speed is the speed at which or below 85% of the motor vehicles travel. So that is not necessarily the posted speed limit. So if the posted speed limit is 40, but the 85th percentile speed is 45, that's the speed limit that you use for your traffic engineering study. All right, hang on to your hats because here's more. But wait, there's more. So, okay, let's go back here for just a second. So you see 3A, 3B, and 3C. Okay, where no single warrant is satisfied. So if you don't have 3A, 3B, 3C, or previously the 1 and 2 that we talked about where the traffic signals are justified, or if you have accident issues, but you have criteria 2, 3A, and 3B are satisfied to 80% of the minimum values. So if you had 4 crashes, 240 vehicles on the major street approach, and 160 units, which includes pedestrians or bicyclists on the minor street approaches, criterion 3C, which is the speed warrant, you can exclude that from your study. So the engineering study can also consider other criteria, such as the need to control left turn movements, the need to control vehicular pedestrian conflicts, locations where a road user cannot see, kind of as I mentioned before, if they're coming through an intersection, they have to creep through there to be able to see all legs of that intersection. Or if you have an intersection of 2 residential streets in similar design, basically acting the same, you could elect to install a multi-way stop there. So what does all of this mean? So going back to the beginning, the city has the legal right to install regulatory or stop signs on city streets for establishment of right-of-way and public safety. When it is decided to control an intersection, the MUTCD shall be followed. So if we are made aware that an intersection does not have any regulatory signage established, because we know about it at that point, we are required to take a look at it and see what signage is appropriate for that location. So I hope that answers your question.
Well,
There's more. There's
okay.
more. So the city prefers stop signs over yield signs to take the guesswork out of right-of-way. If you drive around our beautiful city, you're going to encounter way more stop signs than you are yield signs. Typically, our yield signs are established only if you are making like a yield, like if you're getting onto the interstate or you're going through a roundabout or something like that. It's not at a location where you have to come to a stop all the time. Stop signs are a lot easier to enforce. Whenever we decide that we're going to control an intersection, or if we are aware of an intersection that has no control, I do confer all the time with our police department, specifically our traffic division, and also with our public works folks. Our public works folks can tell us if there's any issues at that intersection that maybe whoever didn't, maybe made the complaint or asked the question, maybe didn't convey to us. And our police folks certainly help us with the accident data. They have all of that information that they provide to us. They also know if, typically if I'm talking to Sergeant Orr, he'll know right off the top of his head if that's a problem area, or if, no, I don't know if we have anything, but we'll certainly check. They know where our favorite intersections are. And there's also a little bit less city liability with a stop sign versus a yield sign. Again, it takes the guesswork out of, if you come to an intersection, what you're supposed to do. So if you come to an intersection and it's a yield versus a stop, going back to it's easier to enforce, either you stop or you don't. So if there is an accident there, it makes it a little bit easier for the police to do their job and enforce what is actually in the field. So some of the references that we talked about, the MUTCD is available on the MUTCD's website. You don't have to pay to look at it. It's a download if you're so inclined to take a look at it. It's got all sorts of great information in here. MoDOT's website is up there as well, where they incorporate the national MUTCD into their state MUTCD. And then our city standards and specifications is up there as well, where we incorporated the national MUTCD into our city standards. So I'm sure there are questions. So what can I try to help clarify? As you can see, this is not an easy thing to try to convey if you don't do this all the time.
We had last council meeting a group of additional stops that were they missed originally, or
for whatever reason, I don't know.
The other part of my question is, as those neighborhoods are developed, is it the intention to make those decisions at the time they're developed?
Yes. When we go through plan review currently, we are looking at locations and making sure that they have the proper signage indicated on their construction plan. So that signage should be going up at the time that development is happening. The ones that went just last meeting for first reading and they're on tonight for second and third, for whatever reason, I don't know why that signage was never established when those neighborhoods were developed. But now that we're aware of locations that didn't have signage established, we're required to do so.
And are they searching? Are you searching for others? Or you think you've caught them all?
Oh, I
said stop searching.
Well,
I will never stand up here and say we have all of them. If
Yeah.
we're made aware of it, we don't actively go out and
from time to
search for
time
them.
we have one or so, but this time we had a group.
But what's strange, Casey, is that I didn't need any until you guys found that I didn't have any. Like, I've lived there 10 years and there's not been one accident.
Right.
And so for 10 years, I've been able to yield onto Spring Street. And the reason that it's not needed is because it's never been a problem. So.
I know, but now that we're made aware of it, we're obligated to do something about it.
Now that we're made aware of it, if someone goes through it and has a wreck, then they can sue the city and say the city did not provide that indication of right of way, and therefore we are liable for their wreck. And that's what we have to prevent against.
So if the development of an area changes, if, for example, an area of relatively high density goes to low density, or all the houses are taken out and replaced by a single large house, is it similarly based on requests for review, or would you automatically look at the development plan and say, you're going from 20 houses to one house, perhaps we need to look at the stop sign. Is that an automatic process now?
I would like to say yes. A lot of times when we're researching an area, we get an inquiry from someone. I can remember a specific instance where a gentleman called in and said, you know, I don't understand why I have to stop here. You know, the minor street approach is the through movement, but the major street approach where there's a lot more traffic has to stop. Can you take a look at that? Well, sure enough, we took a look at it. Again, I don't know why it was established that way to begin with, but after we took a look at it, got the accident data, did the traffic counts, it should have been reversed, and we did that. That was several years ago. But another indication is just in the past few years, we took down a couple traffic signals that weren't warranted any longer. So we do take a look at things. We know things change, and so we look at that.
Why does the MUTCD prohibit the use of stop signs for controlling traffic?
For speed control?
Yeah.
Oh, are you trying to stump me?
No, it's, I just thought the why is important.
Let me pull it out here. Let's see.
I mean, with that being said, I would say I do like the fact that we have gray area because I hate just black and white.
I think the answer, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So what I have read before, it doesn't specifically say in the MUTCD, but you don't use stop signs for speed control because one, that's not
Doesn't
their
work.
purpose. There's other mechanisms to control speed over the stop sign. The stop sign is for the efficiency of traffic through an intersection, not for controlling speeds.
Right. The bottom line is it doesn't work. People just speed to the next stop sign, and if that's their perception, and then you also breed disrespect and disregard for stop signs. And then if you actually are controlling right away, who has the right of way there, then people will oftentimes then have a right angle accident because they aren't paying attention to it. So there's a place in Jefferson City when I lived there where they actually put in mid-block stop signs trying to control the speed. It caused that exact thing to happen, and people would actually speed worse because they would drive very, very fast from one stop sign to the next, and they would accelerate hard, and then people would pull out of their drives, had a really tough time. Anyway, that was.
So any other questions beside the gray area? Council, we have one tonight that is on for a yield sign. I have kind of council coached, I guess, at this point.
Overcoached.
Overcoached.
I would like to get that for future reference. I would like for us to have this presentation. So if there's a way that council can get that, that is a lot of information to throw out. So if we can get that forwarded to us, I'd appreciate it.
For sure.
Just don't ask for us to have a test on it later.
I hope you understand that it's anytime we're asked, it's not just oh yeah, that goes there. We have to look at all this certain criteria. And so it's not just me sitting in my office say, yeah, that goes in. I do collaborate with several other departments, and it's not taken lightly when we decide to establish a stop sign.
Okay.
And the MUTCD specifically says that she has to conduct a traffic study, that she can't just go out there and say, oh, it looks like it needs one. She has to collect the data of traffic volumes and safety data and all of that. So it is a process that does take a good amount of time to do.
Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
And now,
Work for our drones.
you know all about MUTCD.
Stations over the corner. They count no, they
Great use
count
for it.
cars and we're set.
They'll have to check accident information.
We have a lot of friends in other departments that help us gather all the information we need. So, yep.
Very good,
Thank
thank you. We have a time-lapse video. Where is that coming from? From Nicolette? We were able to capture on time-lapse the 60 hours or 60 to 70 hours, whatever it ended up, of the moving of the rail track. So it is going to have its first exposure right here. Is that right?
Yes, Molly. She had anything to
as you know, we don't move railroad tracks that frequently, and so to document the project, we were able to install a video camera to document the entire construction period. It will go in between dark and night, because as you know, they worked around the clock, but it's pretty interesting to see how the track was removed, how all the machinery and workers went in, and a very huge undertaking. So it's, I think, about 4 minutes long. You'll see the track be removed, then dig out the trench, replace it, and then bring the track back. And Stan is here. He was down there for, I think, almost the entire construction period. But if there's anything in the video that you have questions about, Stan would be more than happy to answer any questions that you have after that.
And if you want to watch it real time, you can make that available.
Yes, we could.
Well, staff, our great staff moves mountains every day, but we don't move railroad tracks very often, so this is something special. Okay, Nicolette,
I appreciate everybody stalling. It's frozen and we cannot play it. So.
frozen in time.
Yes. It's significantly longer than 4 or 5 minutes, but you can get the highlights maybe if you want to jump to the next agenda.
Okay, if you're going to be that little while, I will ask then if anyone here to appear before the council on any item that is not on the agenda. That didn't take 4 or 5 minutes. We'll, let's work through the agenda.
Agenda review?
Yeah.
Council, we do have one presentation tonight, or excuse me, two presentations tonight. We have a proclamation that we'll be making, and I think Robbie's going to help you with that proclamation. Mr. Hicks, and then National Preparedness Month proclamation. Rick, I think we're going to have our emergency director here. Mr. Hasheider will be here, and some other employees.
I'll comment during the study session, and I will again this evening on this presentation to Jim Hicks. It's a little out of the ordinary. We don't usually do these kind of things so often, but he's worked 40 years with the youth of our community, and
what an impact.
When I read that and knowing the value of developing our youth and the commitment that adults have in leading youth, it perked my interest enough to say, we need to recognize that. So anyway, we'll do that. And Robbie, you gonna be a part of that? Thank you. We'll do Jim Hicks first, and then the national preparedness.
Communications and reports. Council, do you have things you'd like to report tonight?
Go ahead.
I want to say something about planning, keeping with our very exciting topics tonight. Just something about the strategic plan, and then the neighborhood plan. The importance and why we do it, and some of the questions you'll ask me about.
Good. Anyone else? Anyone? I got a bunch. Corporate games on the 18th. I'll be participating in the kickoff of corporate games. I see some nods back there in the back. Julia, Brock. Race of the Century is the 14th. Victor, I'm gonna be out of town. You're gonna be on that one. On the 8th this week, Ford Model T Hillbilly Tour is through on the 8th. The District Fair on the 10th. That's this Saturday. Salt Information Day is the 8th. I comment on the Kappa Field groundbreaking. Tomorrow at 1, Fire Station 4 groundbreaking. 9/11, say 9/9 first, United Way Days of Caring. I'll participate in the opening of that at Kappa at 8:30. Then on the 11th, just ahead of 2, we're going to unveil a sculpture. Rick and Wes honoring our public servants and public safety. Then just after 2 at the Common Police Courthouse by the gazebo, we'll have a group choir celebrating and remembering 9/11. And then on the 16th, Constitution Day at Alma Schroeder's, always a really meaningful morning that Julia Understall has led the charge there for years, and it's I'll be participating in that. So a lot going on. That's all I had.
That's all you had?
That's all I had.
Sure. Okay. Any other items?
I'd like to add one thing, and I just realized that Barbecue Fest happened after our last meeting, and I want to thank Julia and Parks and Rec for all their help with Arena Park over those 2 days, and even with the rain and everything. It was a great event, and thank you, Julia, for letting us commandeer Arena Park for a couple days. So thank
You're a little
you.
bit easier than the fair.
Yeah, that's a good point. But Scott, I just want to say thanks to the staff, and they did a great
Good.
job with that, and they're always so helpful every year. So
We had a great leader there. The name was what? Robbie Myers?
yeah, I think it was Robbie Meyer. That's right.
It's an inside joke.
Uh-huh.
He was introduced as Robbie Myers on
Yeah.
KFES. That one.
That's right.
Quickly corrected. My bad.
All right.
Okay.
Well, you have one public hearing tonight. We had a CDBG grant for funds for the to do road work and lighting out at the Cape Girardeau Business Park. CDBG grants are a little different in that you have a public hearing prior to and an exit public hearing, and that is this one. So we'll be having that public hearing tonight. On our consent agenda tonight, we have item number 3 is the second, third reading of the stop signs we talked about earlier. Number 4 is the development code regarding landscaping, buffer yard, screening, et cetera. Second, third reading of that. Number 5 is, as Councilman Bowen talked about earlier, is a planning agreement with Arcturus for the downtown strategic plan. And that's a resolution for that. Number 6 is a pro bono assistance grant for 100 hours of pro bono work that we're going to use for the Red Star neighborhood for planning in there from a company out of North Carolina called Benchmark CMR Incorporated. So that approves the use of them.
I think I heard maybe Ryan kind of found that. Did you find out?
I think it was sent to Gail or Molly.
I
Somebody
got
got
a
the
letter and I gave
Yeah.
it to Ryan, who
Wow.
wrote a fantastic letter to the.
Yeah.
Applying for the assistance.
I wanted to find out who found that and encourage him to keep looking. That is significant as we continue to develop our neighborhoods.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to that. Thank you, both of you.
Number 7 is ESCO agreement for Forest Hill Estates 5th edition. And then number 8 is preliminary plat for Collins Mill subdivision. 9 will be the final payment for the Mississippi River Trail, and 10 is the final payment for Kingsway Drive sidewalk project. Any of those items you'd like to remove from the consent agenda? If not, we have 3 new ordinances tonight. We have the Schedule K revision for the yield sign at Abbey and Derbyshire. Number 12 will be the repealing of the loading zone at in front of Vandiver Hall there on Henderson. The university wants to do that so that they can establish it and use it as a bus stop rather than a loading zone, and that will make it more useful to them for that. Number 13 is the state block grant agreement. This is a moving from the design to the construction phase for the lighting out at the airport. So that is all the items. There is a memo tonight for a future appointment to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the advisory board minutes are available. I believe that's all I have, Mayor. Okay.
I'll be recusing myself on vote number 12.
Yes.
Okay,
Number 12.
we will let you do that. That'll be fine. Um, has enough time elapsed for the time elapse? Okay. Lights, let me grab some lights down.
It's 9 minutes, you want to play it in its entirety?
Sure.
We got the time. Fall asleep.
We get stand and narrate this?
They are, what you just saw was they got a machine that pulls the spikes out of the ties, loosen the rail. That machine just went by and picked the rail up and loosened it, and there you saw both rails disappear.
There you see it, there you don't.
Yeah, and then, of course, that's making up the cross ties. Both rails coming in. How much support level people and stuff. Lots of rock. Areas where the ground too soft, there's a lot of space on the new rail alignment, and they're getting out the box to make it stronger base.
Have we already been by the tow drain?
No.
Okay, good.
All the old material actually hauled off.
Okay, gotcha.
All off those.
Balance of tow drain areas the tracks didn't interfere with, is that right? Track was far enough away from the wall?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Bet it was for them too.
Yes. There you kind of get a feel for exactly how much is going on. How we ended up picking up some groundwater right here, so we're trying to get how to get in the program about that.
Okay. That deals with water trying to get under from the riverside.
This grade has been built up.
Two.
Now we start the third. Rail bed prepared on both ends at the same time. Again, digging out the soft spots. All of these new rocks, we new colors. That's one of those spots. That's all that equipment has to do. Without running into each other. One don't really accomplish much through all of this. And some of those guys were out there, I think, for 45 hours nonstop. There was not one accident.
Wow.
Nobody was injured. Yes, we are getting nervous.
Train tells you what.
Yeah, they've already left.
I see those stage down there south of Broadway. Reminded me of my old Lionel train days. Yeah.
Carrying it to two machines. Amazing. Yeah, getting the ties lined up and getting there. 2 hours before we had.
Get off the tracks.
They're actually bringing the ballots to put it around the cross.
Was that when the train was scheduled?
Yeah.
So you made,
2 hours.
okay.
If they got done 2 hours before they had. Oh, yeah. Nobody was worried at all.
Well, Stan, I guess all I can say is thank you.
Thank you.
That's service above self for those hours.
It was exciting to be part of it, and I hope that's the last.
I get, yeah, that's what I said. You hope it's once in a lifetime experience? Very good. Okay, any other business come before council during the study session? If not, we need to have a motion for a closed session for legal actions, litigation, confidential communication with our legal counsel and personnel matters pursuant to revised statutes 610-021, 1 and 3. If I could have a motion.
Second.
By Gunn and seconded by Bowen. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we'll stand adjourned and we'll reconvene at 7 PM. Thank you all for being here.